Father, we thank you for our brother Stan. We know, Lord, that you brought him to us and his family to us, and you have been blessing us through him and his family since the beginning of Northern Light. And so we ask, Lord, that you continue to use him not only in his music ministry, but in his ministry as an example of what it means to follow Christ and to lead your family as you call us to do. And so we look forward, Lord, with anticipation to Stan's story as he shares with us how you have impacted his life. In Jesus' name.
Well, good morning, everybody. A little bit of excitement going on here this morning. Jerry, but we pulled together and went over and laid hands on our brother, just like the Bible told us to do. And that was a symbol of our faith, amen. We believe. Yeah, you better. Just to try to contain me a little bit. I get nervous. I'm not a public speaker, and I get a bit nervous. And we have a camera going there, and I like to just roam. So I thought I'd try something different today, and I thought I'd get a chair up here and sit on the chair and just try to be as real as I can with you guys. So would that be all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, I don't even know where to start. As I kept trying to write things down, my mind just went to mush. And one thing, God has given me the ability to, under pressure, do what I need to do. And he told me that he would give me the words to say today. And I don't think that any of you are here by coincidence today. I think that through me, the Lord has something for you. So I want you to, before we even get going, I just want you to open up your hearts and open up your minds. Some of these stories I'm going to share with you probably give you goosebumps because they give me goosebumps. And those of you that know me know that I have a tendency to be an emotional person. So if I'm up here bawling like a baby, just work with me, all right? Because in the end, God's always victorious. But I can remember back when I was 6 years old, 5 or 6, in a trailer park in Wichita, Kansas. We lived in Wichita, Kansas at the time. And I went to this little backyard Bible school. And I don't think my wife even knows this story. And I went to this little backyard Bible school, and I remember asking Jesus into my heart for the first time. And I believe that he came in and he dwelled within me. We moved back to North Dakota. I was born in North Dakota, and we went back to North Dakota. And as I grew up, my folks, we went to an Assembly of God church. So I was brought up in the church. My mom and dad were good parents. They taught me to love Jesus and love people. And as I grew, I don't know that I really put 100% into my relationship with Christ. Okay? And for that very reason, as I graduated from school, I kind of went off and did my own thing, like many of us. My wife and I, when we first got married, we used to travel all over the place, and we'd play music. Now we have our kids. A lot of you know that everybody but Andrea up here was, my family. And I'm a blessed man, believe me. But we used to travel. And when we traveled, I would give my testimony. And I would give my testimony. Yeah, I'm getting a little nervous, so I got to get up and move a little bit. When I would give my testimony, I was thinking, as I was preparing this, I thought, you know what, I have a whole different testimony. I got 30 years of things that God has done for me. But I think it's very important that I do touch briefly on my life before I rededicated my life to the Lord. I played music in a band, Straight Confusion, that was the name. Straight Confusion. I don't know where we came up with that, but anyway, sometimes I feel like that in life. But anyway, we were always busy. This was back in the early 80s. Proms, they had live music, none of this DJ stuff that they got going on now. So we were always busy, and we were booked up for probably 6 months. And at this point, so I'm playing clubs and bars, and at this point, I had turned from God and started walking away from Him. But He was calling me. He was calling me. I was at work, I was a mechanic, and this guy came in. His car had broke down, so I was working on his car, and he told me, I said, well, where are you from? He goes, well, I'm from Wilmer. I said, Wilmer? Isn't that where they have the Sunshine concert or festival? And he said, yes, it is. Got a big smile on his face, and he goes, you must be a Christian. At that point in time, I had to tell him I wasn't. And that was a slap in my face, because that was the first time that it became real, that I had turned my back on the one that gave his life, his son, for me. I turned my back. So now we're booked up. This band, Straight Confusion, we're playing all over these local towns, and I come to the boys in the band, and I said, guys, I'm sorry, but I can't do this anymore. And they're like, what? Because I was the type of guy that at this point in my life, I was battling addiction, okay? I loved the drugs. And for me, it was, everybody has this little God-shaped hole inside of us. We all have it. And I'm here to tell you today, if you don't know that you got it, you got it. There's this God-shaped hole inside of us. And the only thing that can fit in that hole is God. And that's the only thing that will satisfy. Okay? So God's calling me at this point. He's saying, you should probably not be going out there and singing to these kids about the highway to hell and have a drink on me and all this kind of stuff, right? But I'm still into my addiction pretty heavy, but God's starting to deal with me. And it's kind of freaking me out, because I loved music and I would never walk away from music. But at this point, I told the guys, I said, that's it. I can't do it anymore. So from there, God just started to stir in my heart and in my life. And my addiction started to get worse, because I was running. I wasn't walking away from God, I was running. I knew that there was peace, because I'd experienced it growing up. And I keep looking for that. I'm looking for it in a needle. I'm looking for it in a bowl. I'm looking for it however I can find it. But this God-shaped hole, some of those drugs, they're almost round, or the shape, whatever shape that God hole, whatever that shape is. But there's always those little kickers that come off and it don't fit. So it's not fulfilling. You understand what I'm saying? I wasn't getting what I needed. So I quit the band. I'm still working at this shop as a mechanic. And boy, I was on destruct mode. I was just on my way down. I could feel it, and there wasn't a thing I could do about it. Until I went through, my folks loved me, so they got me into a really good drug and alcohol treatment program. It was supposed to be one of the best ones in the country. You remember a group called Aldenova? Well, the lead singer for that group actually went through this facility, so this is it. Okay? This is it. I'm going to get cured of my addiction. I mean, really. So I go through this treatment program in-house. I was there for, 40 days or whatever it was. It was a long time ago, I think like 82 or so. And my bosses actually, where I work, they actually let me have this time off because they knew I was struggling, and so they said, yeah, you do what you need to do and get yourself better and get back here and get to work. So I did that. I got out. I think I was sober with no drugs, alcohol, anything for maybe, it was less than a month, I know that. That's a pretty sad deal. But that's where I was at that point in my life. And then this downward spiral. And then one day my boss came up to me. He goes, I know you've been doing drugs on the job and I just can't have it anymore. So you're done. I got fired right there. 2 days later, my best friend, his name was Wayne Kettlehut. Some of you might know him. He came out to visit. He lived out here in Minnesota. And he came out to visit. Well, I was pretty down on my luck. I got fired on a Friday. Wayne showed up. He said, man, come on. He said, you got to get with it. You got to get with it. He was a Christian. And I said, dude, I don't have a desire. I don't want to be with it. I just didn't. But you know what? God stirred something in my heart. At that time, there was just a little flicker there. And that little flicker, this young man, Wayne, he called up his uncle in Duluth, Minnesota here, and his name was Wally Carey. And he asked him, he said, my best friend is kind of down and out on his luck. And he's a drug addict. Can I bring him home? Because he lived with his aunt and uncle at the time. And you know what? He said, bring him on. So that's how I got out here. I came out, and one of the things was, and I actually lived with him. I'm probably 20 or 21, and I'm living with Wally Carey. I came out here to take on a cleanup job on a roofing crew, and he told me he didn't know how long he'd have work for me. I said, hey, whatever. And one of the things when I lived with him, I had to attend church with him. Okay? Wow. What Wally and his wife, Ardith, what they did for me helped define my ministry. A lot of you know that we have quite a number of children, and now we got grandchildren. I think most of those 4 on that dedication day are my grandchildren. I just feel so blessed. We have 9 children, and they're all here. The only one that's not here this morning is Jesse and his family, and that's because and Kayla, and my oldest daughter, she's not here either, went to Ironwood. But Jesse's at the vineyard in Cloquet. He's doing worship there. But back to my story. What Wally and Ardith did for me helped define my ministry, and it became our ministry. Because while I was going to church, there was this young gal, and when I seen her, I'm not kidding, she was a junior in high school, and I think I'm 22 now. So this is like off limits, right? And her dad, if anybody know Jim Dalton, is a bit intimidating, to say the least. Well, anyway, I met my wife. I think she had the hots for me. She won't admit it, but I think she did, because she came up and she asked me to sing with her at a wedding. And we've been singing together ever since. So that was once I started to turn my life over and not run from him, but run to him. This is what started happening in my life. Okay? That was a dark time in my life. But it was not until I totally surrendered to him that my addiction problem was not a problem. There was no treatment program that could do it for me. There was no person. In fact, even Wally Carey, who was my spiritual father, he's passed away. But, even he couldn't do it. It had to be here. I had to get God back in that God-shaped hole, and I got him in there. Met my wife. We were going to church in Esco, New Hope. And we'd already had Kayla and Tyler, I believe. But there was this young gal that come to youth group. My wife and I were very involved with the youth. And this young gal, she came from a broken home. Her mama was an alcoholic and had no idea who her daddy was. And Anne's just jokingly one day, she said, "Boy, you should just come and live with us." And well, this young lady, she took that to heart. She went home and told her mommy she's leaving. And she came and she lived with us. She lived with us till she's out of there. She came about 13. She was 13 years old. And now she's married to a missionary. And they have just a wonderful, a lot of you guys know Jed. He's been here. But, if it had not been for Wally and the things that he did for me, we opened up our house and we brought her in. Victory. We had victory. She's serving the Lord today because of that. We got another gal, about 13 years old. She came and her daddy used to own, some of you might remember the old Shishka bar down on First Street. Oh yeah, probably the darkest hole in Duluth. And when that thing was gone, I was the happiest man around because it was just a dive. Well, her stepdaddy owned and ran that place, and her mom was part of it. Okay, so here she is, 13. She's left alone 90% of the time. We started a coffee house ministry in that very building. In that very building, we started a ministry. And this young lady's mom, who was married to the guy that owned the Shishka bar, she came up and started talking to Angela. And she started pouring out about her daughter. And how her daughter's, and she's 13. And she's going through all this stuff. And she knows that she, meaning the mom, she knows that she's part of the problem. And she's coming to us and she's trying to ask for advice. What do I do? So we said that we would open up our house. So Ashley came to live with us, 13. Okay. She came to live with us. Well, our kids are now starting to get a little bit older, right? One thing about Ashley, she had a problem following the rules. Okay, we had a curfew. I can't believe, I'm thinking back now, we gave a 13-year-old a curfew. She should have never even been out. I don't know what I was thinking. There should be no curfew involved. She should but we did. We let her do that, And she was always late getting in. And we'd be sitting there waiting for her. We're investing in this young lady. We're investing our time. We're investing our lives. Because our children, we're taking time from our children that we could be giving our children. We're giving it because of Wally Carey. Okay? Wally Carey, he's the one that stepped up and took care of me. So it come to the point where we had to ask Ashley to leave because she was not following curfew and all these other things. And you know what? It was the hardest thing. It was the hardest thing. I bawled and it was hard because we had invested so much and we had such high hopes. And she actually started to sing on the worship team with us, this young gal. But you know what? She did go. She lived with another couple. We hooked up with a couple in the church that didn't have any kids or anything. So I guess they were a little more flexible. But we weren't. And a couple years after she had left, probably 2, she said that she found this guy. So we got to meet this guy, and we were pretty excited for her. And then she came up and she asked me to walk her down the aisle because she's getting married. Now, that just, woo! Because I felt like I turned my back on this young lady. But I didn't. And you know what? Through her maturity, she realized that I didn't. You know, she knew that I was just trying to help her along. Right? Ashley and her husband now lead worship. So we've invested because of Wally Carey, what he did for me. He showed me the love of Christ like I'd never seen before. The only thing he knew about me was I was a drug addict. I just got fired from my job, and he took me on. He took me on. Here it is, 30 years later, right? I own that company. He told me he didn't know how long I could work, how long he'd have work for me. But now I own that company. And my sons, they work with me. I have 3 of my older sons, Tyler, Jesse, and Travis. They work with me. Do you know how fun it is to go to work now? I still have the stresses. But my boys, they're with me. And we've been through a lot together, me and my boys. Tyler, my oldest son, he battled that same demon. He battled that addiction, and he still does, and we still do. You know, but it's only when we committed to him. That's the only thing that worked. And I believe for those of you that might be struggling with that, addiction of any kind, of any sort, the only way you can break that is the blood of Jesus. Jesus Christ, that's the only way. Because there's that God-shaped hole. And you're trying to shove drugs in there, you're trying to shove drink in there, pornography, whatever it is. You try to shove it in that hole and it ain't going to fit. The only thing that's going to make you fulfilled is the blood of Jesus. Jesus Christ. He came so that we could live. Right? And you know what? We all struggle with things. I don't care who you are. I knew that there was good things happening this weekend just because of the battles my wife and I had before the weekend. I can always kind of judge it by that. So if things get really out of hand, I'm thinking, oh man, God's just going to blow the doors out this place. So I knew yesterday was going to be good. And it was good. I couldn't be more happy or more proud than to be a part of this body. Because what I seen that went on here yesterday, wow. How everybody pulled together. I mean everybody. We were cooking, we were serving, we were Tyler, for crying out loud, he stood over that all day. He stood over there while they were throwing this ball and knocking a big thing of water over on the kids. But we didn't have a dunk tank. That's the closest thing we had. But he stood there all day. and the kids just kept coming and coming. We had bouncies and everybody pulled together. Man, there's not a better feeling. Seriously. When you can be part of a body. Jesse got to talk to a friend of ours after the event. And he asked this person, he said, well, what'd you think? He said, well, he goes, what I seen today was just absolutely amazing, first of all. And then he said, I'm jealous. And my son Jesse, he looked at him and he said, jealous? What? You don't need to be jealous. Come along. Come along with us. Be part. You know what, guys? That's what it's all about. It's about relationship. It's about developing relationships. Because we all learn, we all lean on, we all glean from one another. We do. We strengthen one another through things even like this. Me up here, like I said, I'm not a public speaker, but I believe God has me up here for a reason, and I'm trying to spit out whatever He's trying to spit out through me. And I haven't really cried a whole lot, so that right there is a pretty major goal accomplished. But I tell you, when God started doing things, when we allowed Him to, He just took over. We traveled with another couple, and when we were heavy into the youth group, and a lot of the youth group would travel with us as we would go to these different places. Well, one time we're on our way home, and these are the youth that we thought we knew. We're on our way home, and I remember one of the youth perked up in the back, and they said, hey, you remember that time we were over in Hibbing with our group? It's called New Hope. Remember when that time we were in Hibbing with New Hope? I got saved there. Another one of the kids perked up. Hey, remember when we were at Two Harbors? I got saved there. One by one, we heard these youth. We couldn't even talk. You know how big of a blessing that is to sit there and hear that? And it wasn't us, it wasn't the events. God showed up and made Himself real. We developed relationships with these kids. A lot of these kids were like our own. We still have many of our youth that, and here it is, 15 years later, whenever they come home to Duluth, they come over to our house to show us their kids, to show us their families. It's because we developed relationships. We developed the relationships with them, and I'm so happy. Some of them aren't serving the Lord, but there's a lot of them that are. And you know what? My wife and I, we had a part in that. We had a part in that. I know that when I get to heaven, I'm going to see these guys there. And we're going to have a party, man. We're going to have a youth group reunion. That's what we're going to have. A youth group reunion. Well, God continued to do work in our family. We started having children. We just quit a few years ago. We started having, our oldest is 27. She's not here, her and her husband. And she just had twins not too long ago. Most of you know that. But, okay. Where was I going with that?
That's okay, Stan.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, Jim, that was really something the way you got out there yesterday and did the jig out there for us. We were singing. Oh yes, started having children. Well, as we started having children, Ange and I always sang, right? Played the guitar. Well, I thought, hey man, I think I could maybe show Tyler how to play the bass. We need a bass player. So Tyler, he's pretty little. We go out and we buy a cheap bass guitar. Sure enough, we got Tyler. He's up there. He's playing the bass, and now here comes Jesse. Right? He's at the Vineyard in Cloquet. He's helping lead worship there today. They recruited him. He thought, man, we need a drummer. Honey, we need a drummer. So we get Jesse, and I don't know too much. I think I knew 2 beats on the drums. So that's how it started. I said, this is the beat. Remember that? It was Travis here. Remember that? It's the only roll that I knew on the. But anyway, and here we are. Here are kids. They've grown up in it, and we still get to do it together. That is so awesome. That is so awesome. And what time is it there, Pastor?
4:12.
Okay, how long do I have? 10 till?
I guess till the Lord stops spitting.
Oh boy, don't even go there. Because I might just become a preacher. And then I'll start preaching. Well, let's see. I got a couple other stories that I'd like to share with you that I would hope would encourage you. I can remember it was around Christmas time, and my folks lived here at the time, and one of the things we like to eat lutefisk. We just do. We did. And so the rest of my family didn't. So they stayed home, and my mom and dad, we went to the, I don't know, VFW or something to have lutefisk. So we're sitting there eating lutefisk, and the phone rings, and here it's my wife, and she's hysterical on the other end of the line. She's screaming, I burned his eye, I burned his eye. I said, honey, settle down. I said, well, now tell me what happened. She goes, well, I was pulling the cookie sheet out of the oven, and Tyler come running around the corner. He's sitting there today. Come around the corner, and the hot cookie pan hit his eye. So I'm thinking, oh boy. I said, she goes, what? You know, she looked at his eye. He couldn't open it. It was closed. And she said, there was no burn on his eyelids or anything. And then she said she rolled his eye open. And it was white. It was white. There was no color in the eye at all. It was white. The whole eye was just white. So she called the ambulance. And I met the ambulance down there. Tyler was all wrapped up. And I can remember he was getting off the stretcher in the ambulance. And I'm standing there, and I said, Daddy's here, bud. He just like that. Didn't say a word, just put his thumbs up. And he went on in. Well, this was a Saturday. This was a Saturday. And the reason that I know it was a Saturday is because this kind of a traumatic event, surely we can't go to church tomorrow, right? Okay, so this is what we're thinking. So we get in there, they call 2 specialists in on a Saturday night at the emergency room. 2 specialists they call in. They do all these tests, and then they sit me down in this room, and they tell me that it's not a matter of how much. It's not a matter of, is he going to have damage? It's just how much. Okay? They wouldn't even tell me that he would be able to ever see out of that eye again. Remember, this is just white. You pull the eye open, white. That night, when we got home, I fell asleep. Tyler slept with us that night. I fell asleep. But my wife, she didn't sleep a wink that night. She had her hands on Tyler. And she prayed all night, through the night. The next morning, when he woke up, he opened up his eyes, and they were perfect. They were perfect. There was no pain. There was no white. You couldn't see nothing. It looked like nothing ever even happened. My wife laid her hands on him and prayed through the night. And Tyler, to this day, we've had him tested several times. They say that he's got better eyes than a pilot, than it requires for a pilot in the Air Force. Better eyes. And that come from the doctor. It said, it's just a matter of how much. We don't know if he's going to be able to see again. So how much fun do you think I had that Monday morning when I went in and seen the doctor? Huh? He couldn't, he had to admit it's a miracle. It's a miracle. Do you know what kind of a faith builder that was for our family? I got one more quick story I want to share. And this also involves our family. It's just kind of one of those fun stories. Our family used to travel all the way to Oregon, and we did a camp out there, a family camp, family Christian Bible camp. They heard about our family, and they compensated us well. I mean, it was vacation, and it was great. And they had us come out there for a couple of years in a row, 3 years, I think, 3 or 4. I don't really remember. But we would go out there, and the first year that we went out there, we're traveling, and we're in the mountains, and it's my wife's turn to drive, right? So she's driving the Suburban, and we have our trailer on the back with all our music gear in. So we're coming down the mountains, and I'm actually sleeping, and all of a sudden, here she blows it. We blow a tire. Okay? Now we're in the middle of the mountains, in the middle of nowhere, and we're thinking, oh man, I got the spare down, we got it changed. But anyway, to make a long story short, we get into the tire place there, and they said, this vehicle you have to buy all 4 new tires. You can't just buy one and put on there because of 4-wheel drive, and a lot of you guys probably understand that. They made me buy all 4 tires, right? So it was like $1,000, $800 to $1,000. So we're in the hole already. We ain't even halfway there yet. So we go to this little church. Our family, we get out there, and the people that kind of set the thing up, we kind of told them what had happened, Well, this church, they were very conservative. And part of our ministry is freedom in worship, okay? Which we'll be talking about that as we go here, because I think God's got a lot more for us as we open up and seek after Him. But anyway, part of our ministry is freedom in worship. And these people, I'm telling you, they were, they come in, they sit down, and if we'd ask them to stand up, they'd stand up, but boy, that's about it. They wouldn't do anything. So, we thought, oh boy, this is going to be tough. So we whip out the song, I Am Free, okay? So I give this little speech before we even fire it up. And I said, let's have freedom. I mean, where else can you go and be amongst brothers and sisters and just be free? We're here to serve Him. This whole week is about Him. Let's let go. Let's see what He's going to do. Let's just see. So here we are. The people just started, I don't know, they were like doing the bunny hop around the church as we're doing worship, singing I Am Free, Freedom just came over them at this point in time, and it was just exciting. You could just see these people just light up. You could see the joy on their face. And some of them, you could tell, had never experienced anything like this. So we got freedom going in worship, and this is going, and these people were hungry for worship. They were hungry. Once we got this whole freedom thing rolling, then they started to hunger. They wanted worship. They wanted worship. They came to us one night 3 times. 3 times. I think the last time we led worship that night was probably 2 o'clock in the morning. And these people are just laid out on the floor and they just want more Jesus. That's what they want. That's all they wanted. And it came because they were ready and they started to experience freedom in worship. Man. In fact, the second time when they came and said, man, we just want more. We're like, getting ready for bed. We're showered up and got teeth brushed. They're like, we want some more. So we come out there. And then after that, we thought for sure that was it. So we're like getting into bed. And we hear this knock on the door. And they're like, man, we want more. We want more. So these people, they just blessed us. They let God come in and do what he wanted to do. They didn't shut him off. You know what? When they were there worshiping, if they felt like they needed to weep, they wept because they had freedom to do that. They could do that. If they needed to cry, if they needed to laugh, they laughed. If they needed to just lay on the floor and get in touch with Jesus, they did that. They just opened up. And at the end of that camp, like I said, they compensated my family and I well for coming out there. Well, this is the last day camp. Love is just so thick everywhere. I can't explain it. We're doing the one thing about this church, all year long, they fundraise for this camp. Okay? They fundraise. So when they go to camp, there's no offerings, nothing like that. They don't take up any offerings or nothing. Okay? So the last night, the pastor, he gets up in front of this group of people, and there probably wasn't many more than that are here right now, tonight. Okay? He gets up and he said, tonight we're going to do a good year offering. Okay? A good year offering. You think, well, whatever, man. So they did their goodwill offering. He got up and preached. And after the service was done, he called my wife and I up there, the pastor. And he said, that good year offering? I said, yeah. And he pulls out a check for $2,200. And he said, here. He said, this is for your tires. This is for your tires. Man, God, you are so good. You are so good. That you would even take care of us to the point of paying us back on the tires. I can't even believe it. You don't have to do that, but he did. The next year we were going out there. We get about halfway out there. We blow a shock. We have one of these adjustable things where the shocks are air shocks, and it levels on its own. We blew a shock. $600. Okay? We're in Fargo spending our money. So I told the kids, I said, guys, God is going to replenish this money. Okay? And we're not going to say a word to any of the people out there as to what happened. Because the last time we did this, you know what happened. Okay? God's going to do this. We're not going to do it. Okay? God's going to provide. And that's what I told my kids. I said, God is going to do this. We leave Fargo. We get into Bismarck. That's my stomping grounds. That's where I grew up out there. We pull into this steak place that I always like to eat at, and I struck up a conversation with another couple sitting over there, and On our way out, I went over and I just, wanted to tell him goodbye, and it was nice visiting with him and all that kind of stuff. And you know what? He reached in his pocket and he pulled out a $100 bill and he stuck in my hand and he said, "We want to sow into your ministry." Okay? Here's $100. We still have $500 to go. But when we got in the burb, I said, "Kids, this is the start right here. This is the start. This is the seed." We get out there again. We have just an awesome camp. I could tell you more stories about that, but I'm going to focus here. Get us out of here. Okay, so we went through the whole camp. Didn't mention a word to anybody. The camp is done, right? Now we go over to Matt and Mindy's, because they're the ones that were kind of our hookup or contact. That's where we stayed. So we go to Matt and Mindy's, and I'm thinking in my heart, we still don't. We only got $100 out of that 600. What's up, God? And this is what I'm thinking in my mind, my small little mind. He's got all the details worked out. So we load up in the burb and we're heading out. And before we left, he come up to me and he put something in my hand. I had no idea. I knew it was money. I'll tell you that. I knew that. He put something in my hand. And he said, "Here, take your wife out for supper." Okay. My wife don't eat a lot, so maybe $50. So we get in the burb and we start leaving. And I reach in and I pull it out of my pocket and there's 2 $100 bills. I said, "Kids, we're at $300. We got the 100 at the eat place there. Now we have 2 more." And Kayla goes, "Matt gave me a $100 bill." Jesse said, "Matt gave me a $100 bill." So we're at $500. Tyler's laying in the back of the burb. He says, "Hey!" He waves that 6th $100 bill. That's the kind of victory that we get to walk in, because we're serving an awesome God. Amen? I'm telling you, God wants to work in your life. You just need to let Him. Sometimes all it requires is just saying, "Here I am, Lord. Send me. Use me." Isaiah 6:8. I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Who am I going to send? Who am I going to send? Here am I, Lord, send me." Amen? Amen. And that would be my prayer for you this morning. I don't know if he's thinking he can cut me off here or what. I see him get up and walk all the way around. Hallelujah. You know what, guys? I love each and every one of you. And like I said, I'm so proud of the things that we accomplished yesterday. I see a few new faces here today. That makes me happy that you're here. It really does. There's just something about the body, where we can, if somebody stumbles or falls, we all come alongside and we lift up and we encourage, because we all go through it. Every one of us, not one of us is exempt. We go through the struggles of life. And like I said, when things are happening for God, man, I knew this weekend was going to be good. It wasn't just because of the stuff going on between my wife and I, but there was just a lot of stuff that tried to occupy my mind. And my mind needed to be here. I want you to know that Pastor, earlier he said we have a prayer team, and they're on it 24 hours on it, which is not the bathroom. But in all sincerity, I'm telling you, man, if you're going through struggles, I don't expect you to come up here right now, but please seek one of us out. Because we all go through struggles, and we're all gonna go through struggles. It's just how do we deal with them? You know, where do we put our focus? And just from my life experiences and just a couple of short little stories that I told here this morning, you know, those stories from after the time that I got rededicated in my life, those are all stories of victory. Those kids that came to live with us and now they're adults and they're loving Jesus just because we opened our home, because of Mr. Carey, Wally and Ardith. They opened up their doors for me. And that became part of our ministry. We've got fingers everywhere out of our ministry. You know, it's just awesome to see how God works. So you guys, if anybody has any issues, we love to pray for you. We'd love to pray for you. And I'm telling you, I'd like to see all of you here again, to come back. I'd like to see you on these beautiful faces. So God bless you guys. Thank you very much.
You're the hope of man, the breath of life. You hold my hand. When I feel the crumbling ground, I will stand at your cliffside. I will trust your plan, though I know it's so far down. I choose to